With that, the stage is set for our next fireside chat. Let's shift the spotlight to the world of entertainment, shall we? Okay. So there are movies that break records, and then there are movies that don't just break all records, but also redefine filmmaking. One such movie that got theaters cheering, echoing with cheers is Dhurandhar, and I was one of them who also was echoing in that theater, cheering for Dhurandhar. Inarguably, Indian film industry's most valuable franchise ever. Let's welcome the lady behind Dhurandhar, who's not only going to talk about making of the film, but also how she plans to take Indian content to the globe. Gives me immense pleasure to welcome on stage Miss Jyoti Deshpande, President, Geo Studios, Media and Content Business, Reliance Industries. And I also like to request Mr. Saurav Majumdar, Editor-in-Chief of Fortune India, to please join us on stage to moderate the session. Jyoti, a warm welcome to you. Saurav, over to you.
Thank you very much. Now, when you have a Dhurandhar on stage, you are anyway, your knees, your knees are quaking. So big hand for Jyoti Deshpande, who has successfully rewritten the rules of the entertainment game with this mega two-part blockbuster. So there is no other way to start this chat, Jyoti, other than talking about this game changer. So first and foremost, tell me, how did you conceptualize this film? Because it's different in so many ways, right? It's an ensemble cast, and I must compliment the director and the lead actors for playing their parts to the hilt. Not trying to be over the top in any way. First and foremost, how did it come, get conceptualized, and most importantly, how did you come up with this two-part franchise business, keeping the whole suspense going?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. I would say it was a series of unfortunate incidents that led to this colossal success and a great deal of divine intervention. To begin with, I think what interested me about this film was the fact that it broke every conventional norm, that had been laid out very neatly over the last 30 years of storytelling. And that was what was, first of all, very attractive. It's like when you look at data and something breaks a pattern, it breaks your Excel sheet formulas and it breaks, conventional green lighting norms. I think that was very attractive. The fact that it was fully set in Pakistan, the fact that each of the characters, we were dealing with a very sort of intelligent concept of deep state. None of our films had ever dealt with that concept, and it could be quite abstract to explain that to the common man. So how do we tell a story about deep state, but make it entertaining? So we wrapped it up as a gangster film, and I felt that it was more deeply patriotic than any of the other films that pretend to be patriotic on the face of it, although this was more dressed up like a gangster film. And so that's how I greenlit it, because it was bold, it was different, and I thought it would be clutter breaking, and I thought that was essential to sort of stand out from a similar type of films that were being made. And it was not conceived as two parts. It was one part, and after we had shot about one schedule of the film, about 40 days. Liari. Liari was, we made Liari in Thailand. There was this set of buildings, an area, whole area that was being razed to the ground. So it was down to its last 60 days available, after which that entire area was going to be bulldozed. So we said, instead of shooting in a set, we'll hire this entire area in Thailand and we'll construct Liari. So we get our drone shots, we'll get those narrow lanes, and we'll be able to bring authenticity by recreating Liari in Thailand. So that's how we shot. And once we sort of shot 40 days, we'd busted through our budget. We knew, the budget's going to overrun. And what were a few pages in the script was turning into hours of footage. So somewhere along the line, I had to go with my conviction that I'm going to go ahead and fund it. And I had a handshake with the director that we were going to work on the edit and look at two parts, because we can't make a 5-hour-long movie anyway. So we knew that it had...
But that's a bold bet, right?
It was a bold bet because I could have doubled the budget and yet ended up with one film and a lot of wastage. So the fact that, we had a unique soundscape. I remember in the beginning, kitne gaane honge? Every producer asked this question. And then Aditya was saying, ये genre में ज़्यादा गाने नहीं होते, background music होगा, 2-3 when he's going from one place to the other, there'll be some background music. It's not likely to be a very big musical. But then looking at the length of the film, the kind of soundscape, we said, okay, there's got a lot of violence and gore. How do you make it palatable? It's already going to be an adult rating. Now you don't want it to be a male testosterone film. You want women in, you want everyone to enjoy the film because it should be universally appealing. So then Rambaho in slow-mo, while he's shooting down people. So we designed the film so differently.
The soundtrack was itself another level altogether of clutter breaking, right?
Yes. So, when there's a 12-minute action sequence, you don't feel the length because it's designed to immerse you as well as slightly distract you, So it takes away, if you can't digest violence, you can focus on the soundscape.
So from Akshay Khanna's legendary dance moves to Tu Bachcha Hai Mera, it's become part of your vocabulary actually, and Indian consciousness in a way. Does it put enormous pressure on you to now, to sort of, when you have a Dhurandhar as your last movie, how do you then move ahead? What's it like now?
See, you can't design when something becomes part of popular culture. I think no amount of sitting in any office or having any marketing guru or spending any amounts of marketing dollars can architect that. This is something that when audience makes something their own, then it becomes part of popular culture almost organically. Well, I think in 2024, we shattered all records with Stree. That became the highest grossing film, and it had Rajkumar Rao and Shraddha Kapoor. It was a modest budget film, and it broke all box office records. And we said, now what will we do? And we did Dhurandhar. So we'll think of something.
No, you had told me earlier, Jyoti, that sometimes you look at pop culture and the chatter on social media, etc., to also sometimes take cues on what the public is talking about, and then look at whether some of these movies work or some of the stories can be woven around that. Does that work for you?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to have your ear in the ground, and you have to know what people are talking about and what would interest them. Where is the head of our youth at? So I think that's so important to tell stories that are relevant. There's so much information. Even a 2-minute reel that you're consuming before sleeping, just, swiping, it's a piece of content. So why should someone invest several hours of their time, significant amount of money, and come and watch a movie in the theater unless you're going to give them, enough for that investment? So I think stories are everywhere. It's important to keep your eyes and ears open to find them. And then execution. I mean, Dhurandhar was a little bit of all departments firing. I mean, the director, Aditya Dhar, brilliant. The editor, Shiv, brilliant. All the actors, Ranveer Singh, Akshay Khanna, Arjun Rampal, each of the character artists, Rakesh Bedi.
Yes.
Then the prosthetics department, you know, who transformed Madhavan, you know, to look like almost Ajit Doval. They were brilliant. So, you know, the sound, every department firing is that's why I say divine intervention. Hard work, I think everyone works hard. We did too, against all odds. But it all came together. One, because I think it was a relatively controversial topic. The tonality of the film could have taken it here or there. But all of us were very aligned on the story we wanted to tell and the voice. We were like one voice. So we were not torn in different directions. None of us wanted to dilute the conviction in any way or make it half-hearted here or there such that it doesn't land. So I think being on the same page helped us execute the plan in spite of the hurdles.
Yeah, that's true. From, you know, but what interests me is from Stree and Dhurandhar to Lapata Ladies and Sali Mohabbat. How do you then decide what, you know, which movie goes for streaming, which movie goes for a big blockbuster release? How does that, you know, decision making happen at your end?
I think it's gut feel, it's a little bit of experience. I generally don't have any preconceived notion in my head. I have a story first attitude. I don't have a platform first attitude towards green lighting. Ki, you know, this one we'll put in the theaters or this one we'll put, you know, on a streaming service. I like to see why a story should be made. What purpose does it serve? If it was never made, will the world miss it? You know, so if it first of all passes that litmus test that yes, it does serve a purpose, it's entertaining, but you know, it's got some subtext, it's got some purpose, and it's interesting, and the vision of the storyteller is clear and not confused, then that is something that I consider. And then sometimes once you greenlight a story and you actually produce it, fund it and make it, when you look at the first copy, you say, yeah, okay, this is better than what I expected, this is like what I expected, then you test it, and then you think, will people come to the theaters to watch this film? Lapata Ladies, for example, many people told us to take it directly to the streaming service. But I felt it was such a cool movie, I said, I'm going to bring it to the theaters. It did not break the bank in the theaters. It was a very modest theatrical business. But it absolutely broke the internet when it came on Netflix. And Netflix actually told us that because it came in the theaters,
There was awareness.
it absolutely helped them, help people discover this film on Netflix as well. So sometimes they feed off each other, and there is no preconceived idea in my head that, you know, Mrs., for example, was another film, you know, which I'm very proud of, which landed on Z5.
Now, there was a lot of discussion around AI in the session prior. We have to address the elephant in the room. Now, we've just heard about the first AI actor, lead actor, Tilly Norwood, having landed a lead role in Hollywood. How do you look at AI? Will we see an AI superstar in India in future, or you think Indian audiences still want their, you know, Amitabh Bachchans and Ranveer Singhs to look at too? You know?
No, see, I am personally a very tech-forward person. I am actively a student of this journey and immersing myself in how AI can benefit my industry. I'm already looking to make one animation film using AI called Krishna, which we've already announced, and that'll completely use AI to make the film. However, it's an animation. I do feel I'm aware of, an AI influencer already existing amongst us, living a normal digital existence, telling us what she's doing every day. Maybe she'll have an affair tomorrow, and we'll be following that as well. So I think AI is here to stay. The technology is not there yet, where I could seamlessly blend an AI character with a live character, but we're not that far away, a few years away. And I, for one, I'm curious, and I'll definitely experiment with it.
So that's a big thing. Your big scoop you're letting us on. There might be an fully AI-driven movie from Geo Studios in the future.
Absolutely, why not?
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are running out of time. The lady behind Dhurandhar herself in the movies. A big hand for Jyoti Deshpande. Thank you, Jyoti, so much for speaking to us.
Thank you, everyone, for going and watching both the films and also watching it again on OTT. Thank you.
And we are keen to see what's next from Geo.